Starting Over Stronger show, where you'll find help and hope for your divorce survival and recovery. Divorce well, live well.
Hello, survivors. This is Annie, and you're listening to the Starting Over Stronger Divorce Survival and Recovery show. If you are facing a divorce, you probably have been through years of emotional turmoil or drought. And if that is true, you may very well be struggling with what we call limiting beliefs. And today I will be sitting down with another life coach, Tara Stricker Woodhouse, to talk about what they are and how to release them from your life forever. If you've ever heard and felt personally attacked by the saying, get out of your own way, you know what a limiting belief is. Today, you're going to learn some very simple techniques that work to eliminate them from your life forever. Life coach Tara Stricker Woodhouse is an international remote and in-person life coach who works with people who are ready to dive deep into who they are, what they want out of life, and how to get out of their own way to achieve it. So stay tuned today to hear more about that. Welcome to the show, Tara. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Very good. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So like you said, I'm an international life coach. So I do online coaching and in person. And I'm from Canada, Alberta, Canada. And I started life coaching after 20 years working as a social worker when my husband suddenly passed away. And one of the most profound things that came from that whole experience was he was literally lying on his deathbed and said he regretted not doing what he always wanted to do because he wanted to be a dog trainer. And that just hit me so close to home. And I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to live a life of regrets. I don't want to be on my deathbed going, I wish I would have. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I started coaching. I loved social work, but I just felt like it was more so putting a Band-Aid on bullet holes. It wasn't diving deep into like the core stuff, like the belief stuff, which I love to talk about. So I'm excited to talk about that today.
Very good.
Yeah, because I feel we can make superficial changes, but when we get triggered, we go right back to those core beliefs. And so if we're not changing those, we'll see repeating patterns. And so I feel the only way that we can really, truly make changes is by getting to the core of what's kind of make those patterns, run those patterns. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, you're right about that. And Tara and I connected through social media, like many of my guests, and we felt like we were like-minded in many ways, even as different kinds of life coaches, and in so many ways similar. I work with women as they face, survive, and recover from divorce. Tell us a little bit more about who you serve and what kind of work you do with those people as their life coach.
Okay. So I call it the 5 Ds because what I've noticed is we are creatures of comfort and we like to stay in our comfort zone. And it's not until we are pushed out of it that we decide to make changes and we decide to kind of open up and dive deep. Even if our comfort zone's not necessarily healthy or not great, it's just comfortable. And so I call it the 5 Ds, and divorce is one of them. But it seems like death, divorce, disease, being downsized or dumped are kind of those life changes that kind of push you into wanting to reevaluate yourself and kind of look deep and go, okay, who am I really? Who do I want to be? What's not making me happy? What's not bringing me joy? And what is? And what do I want to keep with me? And what do I not want to? And yeah, so that was my experience when my husband passed. It was that opportunity, as horrible as the situation was, it was my opportunity to go, okay, I get to start over. What do I want with me and what do I not want?
Yeah. Well, I've always thought, and I never really thought about whether it was true or just an assumption on my part, but I think most of the life coaches that I've met got to be life coaches by having some kind of interesting, tragic, heartbreaking, or maybe amazing experience or experiences in their lives. And so you've already shared, that is exactly what happened for you, was having the death of a spouse and just kind of that waking up moment of what do I want to be in this world?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's why those of us who are drawn to life coaching, because we've been through it and we know that you don't have to be stuck in that comfort zone. Okay, life's okay. And like you said in your intro, years of turmoil and stuff like that, you don't have to live like that. Yeah. And so I think once you've been through and you're like, oh, I can survive this. I'm okay. Now you want to help everyone else to have the great life on the other side of that.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And it sounds like maybe divorce is not a part of your story. Is that right?
It's not a part of my story, but I know I've worked with some people who have gone through it. And I see a lot of parallels with it's a loss. It's a loss like I suffered.
Really?
In ways I think my loss was easier. In ways I think it's harder because I don't ever have to see my husband again, which is sad in a way, but I don't have to be triggered by that all the time. I don't have to continue a relationship because of the kids. And I also have the bonus of it ended on a good thing, like it ended not bitterly. It ended not out of wanting to be apart. It ended out of, which is tragic, but I don't have those like kind of emotions. Business. Yeah, exactly. Right. So
that is good.
Yeah.
And, I use that comparison all the time, divorce and death, because divorce is a death of a dream.
Absolutely.
It's a death of something that you expected to be forever.
Yeah.
And now it's ending. So it's very similar in a lot of ways. In the true vein of coaching, we aren't going to spend a lot of time today talking about the why and how of getting stuck in these limiting beliefs that we're going to talk about. But we're going to dive deep into what they are and how to take action to release yourself from them. And to start with, I thought I would just ask you a few questions just so we can get your perspective on, first of all, what is a limiting belief?
Okay. So our beliefs are pretty much set in us by the age of 5. They're kind of formed by the age of 3 and 5. So they mainly come from our caregivers, our primary caregivers, our family, and from the media and culture around us. And they are, I kind of like to say they're like our rules for life. So they're the absolutes of this is how you be a good girl. This is how you be a good wife. This is how you be a good mom, or this is how you be a nice person. They're definitely rooted in the black and white, like this is good, this is bad, this is right, this is wrong. And we have thousands upon thousands of beliefs. A lot of them kind of tie down to core beliefs, but like you may have like a whole vision of what a good wife might look like. And so that means that you are well kept. Maybe that was something that that your mom was, you always viewed your mom, doing her hair and makeup for her husband coming home. It may be that a good wife is a mom, so you have to have kids. It may be like, there's so many, and everyone, I always say, has different flavors to them. So everyone has their own version, and even certain words, like I know when I worked with some of mine, the word pretty is fine for me, but beautiful was a trigger for me. And so everyone has their own programming, let's call it, and rules on how they should act and what is the right way to be.
Right. So a limiting belief is just a belief that is limiting you in some way.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm stating the obvious here.
And I kind of feel like all our beliefs are limiting in a way, because anything that tells you what's good and bad doesn't give you that. If you're running on the autopilot of your beliefs, then you don't have a choice in that point. So if a good mom always has her makeup done and her hair done and, that kind of thing, then the one day that you are rushed and don't get your makeup done, then that's limiting to you, because all of a sudden now you're a bad mom, right? In your belief system. So I kind of feel like there's definitely some that are hugely limiting, but I think if they're all running under our awareness, they all have their limits to us, and they all lead to us judging ourselves in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like you've already kind of said it's basically coming from the way we were raised. If you had to choose one single thing that you found most effective in releasing your limiting beliefs that you've struggled with, what would you say it was?
I think there's so many ways to kind of go around them, but I think the biggest thing is becoming aware of them. And when you're aware of them, then you can start questioning them. So am I a bad mom because I didn't have my makeup on today? Or am I a bad wife because my kitchen's dirty today? And you can start really questioning them and go, like, is that the truth? Is that true? Am I a bad person because I didn't do A, B, and C? And so awareness is a huge thing. But further than that, then of course, affirmations are really good. So like I said, a lot of them kind of tie down to cores of being good enough or being worthy. And so those are really, but like I said, there's thousands kind of around them. So there's lots of rules to being worthy in our minds, or lots of rules to being good enough in our mind. So it's just, I say it's kind of like you have to kind of sort through them to get to the core. Because even if you start working with the big ones, like I am worthy, and you do affirmations for that, but you have like 1,000 rules on how to be worthy in your mind. Yeah. And you kind of got to weed through those little ones first too, before you can really get to the core ones.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point, though, because the fact is most people don't drill down and really figure out what their beliefs are and what is limiting them, because it's such hard work. It's such, going through a haystack for a needle, right?
Absolutely.
So that's where coaching is so beneficial, that, if you really are a goal-driven person who really wants to live a happy and productive life, you've got to take some time. And if you need the help of a coach to do it, which many people do, it's worth the investment to really understand yourself and get that awareness about yourself. So thank you for sharing your perspective on that. Let's go ahead and dive in and see what we can discover about limiting beliefs and what it looks like to release them. We all want to live a life that's not governed by them, and that's the goal here today. So as I think about the process of releasing my own limiting beliefs, which honestly used to hold me as captive as a prisoner in chains, emotionally speaking, in
Absolutely.
Bad relationships, toxic situations from a very young age. And the first thing that comes to mind for me is writing. And I've always thought it was because I'm more or less a writer at heart. Mm-hmm. And maybe that wouldn't be true for somebody who isn't. But the more I think about it, the more I realize the power of writing. I don't honestly know where my life would be right now if I had not decided one day about 20 years ago to put pen to paper and start seeing what came out. And it actually started out for me as sort of a way to stay focused on prayer. I found that my mind wandered when I just tried to pray in my head, and I wanted to stay focused on talking with God about the things I was struggling with to process and make sense of in my life. And what it became was like a lifeline to my sanity. Over the 15 years or so that I was journaling prior to the life-changing event that was my divorce, and I almost really look at that like a rebirth, I would often say that I didn't know what I thought or felt or believed until I sat down and did this most mornings to write and just see what flowed out. I think that is honestly partly just the power of writing and partly evidence of how trapped I was emotionally. But whatever the case, it worked. And I slowly began to see my beliefs and what was limiting me and the patterns that were playing out in my life with my own eyes. And it was a slow process, but honestly, journaling became so important to me that I could literally feel all day whether or not I had started out my day with journaling. And I recommend it all the time to my clients. What experiences have you had with writing, journaling, or just in some way getting your limiting beliefs onto paper?
Today's episode is sponsored by The Hill Law Firm, a collaborative divorce and mediation-focused practice. Johnson County divorce attorney Elizabeth Hill believes that compassion is critical, and that compassion is at the heart of all that she does for her clients through collaborative divorce and collaborative mediation. In the world of divorce, collaborative simply means non-adversarial, and while it is not for every couple, with the right set of personalities and purposes, this approach to divorce can empower a couple to come together without the court's involvement to establish a workable and more cost-effective resolution for both parties. The choice of an attorney, as always, is a personal decision that should not be made based on advertising alone. Starting Over Stronger Coaching recommends interviewing a few attorneys before making your selection. If you are in the Johnson County, Kansas area and you are seeking a collaborative or mediated divorce, I highly recommend making Elizabeth Hill one of those calls. Call Elizabeth Hill at 913-381-1500 or visit hilllawfirm.com. That's HILL lawfirm.com. Please tell them you heard about them on Starting Over Stronger. Now back to the show.
Writing is definitely powerful. And I think it's something, and it kind of ties back to what you're saying about the benefits of a life coach, because when we are in our own mind, we just, our beliefs are facts to us. So they are absolute truths. And when they run under our radar, we never get to question them. And so writing or speaking them out loud makes you go, well, that's not true. Or, you know, like they're absolutely, most of them are absurd. And if we actually truly think about it, but that's what I was kind of saying about the awareness. And I know writing for me, I know everyone says to journal, but that's never been for me. I'm more auditory learner. And so by actually saying it out loud, I'm like, well, that just sounds stupid. Like, why am I running my life with that rule? That's just stupid. And so I know it kind of depends, I think, on what kind of a learner you are and what kind of most attracts to you. But I know there's huge benefits for journaling. Like I said, I'm more so if I speak them out loud, then I hear them, then I'm like, okay. And so I have conversations with myself quite often.
That's an excellent point, though. I mean, people do learn differently. So that really makes a lot of sense.
Because I've tried journaling and it just, it doesn't flow for me like it does for some. Saying that, though, like it doesn't flow for me when I actually handwrite or like print. If I'm typing on my computer, like when I do blogs and stuff, it just flows out of me. So, but I think it depends on kind of who you are, I guess, and what works for you. That will be most beneficial. But
I agree.
It's always bringing it to the awareness, that piece of bringing it to the awareness. Then you can judge if it's working for you.
Exactly. Well, my recommendation for anyone just starting out with journaling, and in the great sense that you've just shared it, you know, even just speaking to themselves aloud, is, I think, first, not to just underestimate the power that it has to make a difference subtly in your life and in your psyche, to get more in touch with your thought life. I would say start, you know, for me, with starting with writing down every belief you have about yourself and your life that is negative or frustrating or you feel is stifling you. And maybe you're, you know, saying those things audibly. That's fine too. That may look, you know, like it did for me, where you're almost kind of like writing diary style about your days, and then just naturally, you know, that flows into these beliefs that are coming out about what's happening in your life. And then you kind of start investigating and following those thoughts and emotions on the paper or out loud as the days and weeks and months go by. This is a powerful way to really discover exactly what is holding you back. And when it's right there, especially in black and white, but, you know, even if it's being done audibly, you're hearing things you just cannot ignore or stuff down quite as easily as you have. And up to that point, you might even begin to notice how strong your beliefs are and what emotions they create for you. And some are going to be strong and more of like a life force or a core belief, like you talked about. Others are going to be just small, niggling annoyances. I always like to think of these things like lights on a dashboard. You kind of begin to understand what each light and blinker and dial is actually telling you about yourself, about what you feel, about why you feel it. And I think that this practice alone is capable of greatly increasing someone's self-awareness and emotional intelligence. I honestly oftentimes don't feel like I can make progress with a coaching client if they're not open to this kind of self-exploration.
Absolutely. It is so, I love the word exploration and, you know, the deep dive. It is so going to understanding how your mind works and understanding, because you are original. And like I said, every belief or every flavor of a belief is very true for you. But because they are so ingrained in us, we just take them as fact. We just are like, yep, that's how I, you know, like that's how I am, or, you know, and then that kind of thing. And until you start really realizing that that is not just how you are, then you don't question them and you just go along life and, oh, I'm a bad girl. Oh, I'm a bad wife. Oh, I'm this. And I think, like, I have a free online webinar that talks about how to kind of get down to your beliefs. And the start is kind of like you said, is that awareness piece. And for me, it starts with the self-talk, like that, the judgments and the bad girl, good girl stuff. and which is usually spurs on emotions too. But it really, that self-talk is such a clue to what's going on underneath. And then you'll start to see patterns in the self-talk. And, then you can start going, oh, okay, I have this belief that, this is how I should be, or I have this belief. I know like a lot of, it's kind of ingrained from society that there's kind of some shame in divorce at times, and it may be the best thing for you. But if you have this underlying belief that you are meant to stay with your partner, then that would bring on a lot of shame and guilt and doubt and everything else. Even though on one level that this is the best choice for you, then if that belief's kind of running, then your self-talk would be like, oh, you should have tried harder. What's wrong with you? Why didn't you do that? That kind of thing. And by no means is that right. You do what's right for you. And that's why I think when you get to the understanding your beliefs, then you can go, okay, what's right for me? What's not right for me? And then make your choice from an empowered place, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's definitely spot on. Just seeing it all come together in your mind over, it may take a period of many years, even to really start to see these beliefs as not true, and to admit that we've been lying to ourselves or be able to see that, to know really that we are good enough or smart enough or capable or kind or whatever the opposite of what we've been telling ourselves. And it's not easy work. I mean, I was also in therapy as I was dissecting all this through my journaling, and that was very helpful. Dr. Daniel Amen is a brain researcher, and I often have seen him quoted as saying, don't believe every stupid thing you think. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, think about it. We all have thoughts running through our head amok all day long, and we have very little control of them, honestly. They just come and go. Some stay, some don't. But trying to control your thoughts can be an exercise in futility sometimes. But what you can control is what you believe about those thoughts. When you have a thought that doesn't feel good, start questioning it. Make the choice to see it in a new light. Pick it apart. You can argue your limiting beliefs all day long to anyone who will listen and defend them. And honestly, people that are like that are draining, and you may find fewer and farther between the people that will listen to it if you keep being like that all the time,
Yeah.
But rather than defending these limitations and draining your own energy and everyone around you, don't you want to achieve your dreams and your desires for your life? I mean, the fact is you actually have to choose. You can't go in two directions at the same time. So, Tara, talk to us about your thoughts on belief versus truth and how you've processed through all this yourself.
So any belief is, I say, not true. Anything that says that, anything that, like I said, labels good, bad, right, wrong, because to me and I felt this way in social work too, there is always a gray area. There is always, this is a right choice in this moment because of da-da-da-da-da. And so because beliefs are so black and white, I don't think any of them are true, really. You have to make the choice in the moment. So no, I'm not being a good friend right now, or, that kind of thing. But because they're so absolute, they kind of shade that, and they don't give any opportunity for context, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. And so I think they all need to be questioned. Some you may keep and go, yep, this one helps me. This one serves me. And that is absolutely okay. But if it's not, and if it's, like you said, draining your energy, and if it's causing you negative self-talk, and it's causing you to doubt yourself, to judge yourself, then definitely that needs to be changed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
definitely. Well, if you can get to this place of seeing your beliefs and truth as two separate entities, then I think, for me anyway, and I think for a lot of people, a natural next step is to try on different beliefs. Use your imagination. Maybe you've always told yourself or been told and believed that you're not good enough. Yeah. That was a big one for me. I don't honestly know if it ever fully goes away, but it's so much better. And I know I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't try on the new belief that I am perfectly imperfect just the way I am.
Absolutely.
And I would say it to myself over and over and over again. I still have to sometimes. You have to try on these new beliefs because you want to find things that align with your dreams and desires, not stay stuck in, what's limiting you. And, the truth is you're probably not going to feel it at first. That doesn't mean you can't keep saying it over and over and over again, reprogramming your mind, post it on your bathroom mirror, your desktop monitor, go out on the internet and find a pretty meme about it, save it as your lock screen on your phone, literally like get it in front of your eyes as many times a day as possible.
Absolutely.
Wherever you're going to see it and read it repeatedly. And you're going to have to do this for a long time. I mean, honestly, you're undoing years of programming. So maybe yours is something about weight or finances or finding a healthy partner or being the problem in a bad marriage. We could go on forever. But you can rewrite a negative belief, into something like, my past difficulties in the area of whatever have taught me so much that I am prepared and confident to handle them now. Or now that I know what an unhealthy relationship looks like and feels like, no one's going to have to explain it to me when I feel sunshine on my face. Yeah. I'm going to know exactly what I am looking for in a healthy, loving partner. Give us some examples from your own life or your clients of some limiting belief rewrites.
Today's episode is sponsored by senior mortgage banker Beth Langston with Flat Branch Home Loans, Overland Park. My friend and referral partner, Beth Langston, is a Kansas City 5-star mortgage professional award winner for 2020, and it's evident to me why. I often refer my first-time homebuyer clients to Beth because she not only assists with the purchase of their first home, but she also takes the time to educate them about credit, budgets, and insurance. That's why she's such a great resource for my divorce coaching and divorce real estate clients. She's a caring teacher who enjoys fully informing clients about the transaction that is in their best interest, and she's readily available throughout the whole process and after. As you divorce, whether you're looking to refinance the home you live in or purchase your own new home that's all yours for a fresh start, working one-on-one with a local experienced loan officer backed by knowledgeable staff handling your loan from start to finish is so important. In-house processing and underwriting allow Beth to better serve you and help make the process smooth, because the last thing you need during divorce is more complication. Beth looks forward to giving each and every one of her clients the best experience in the purchase of their new home. Call Beth Langston with Flat Branch Home Loans at 816-679-4000 or get started now at www.applywithbeth.com. Please tell her you heard about her on Starting Over Stronger. Now back to the show.
So I think, like you said, the good enough one, I think that's such a core one that so many boil down to that one. But like you had said before too, it's pretty much the opposite of some of the ones that I just heard you saying. A lot of that comes down to trust myself. Like, I trust myself to make good choices for me. Because we doubt our choices, like, oh, maybe he's good, maybe he's not good, like that kind of thing. Especially if we've been hurt before, we tend to doubt ourselves. And so like that would be one. I am pretty, I'm enough is another one. And when I do work with clients, because I also do some energetic shifting because I'm an energy healer as well. And I do some work around shifting the energy with beliefs, because they're not only in our psyche, they're in our energy and they block our energy. So doing some of that. And so it's a play on words with it. Like I said, pretty was fine for me. Beautiful triggered me. And so it's a matter of what words work for you, where some people worthy, they're fine with, but valuable, I have value. So it depends on what your flavor is of it, on what's going to be most powerful for you.
Yeah. And I think the language around it is so important. That's why I said, get it in writing everywhere you're looking, because the language of it is an important first step. But I think we have to go beyond that and just stop just saying these things. We have to actually try them on and see how they feel. Can you give me an example of that in your life or with your work?
Sure. And I think that's great. And I love the way you say try them on, because it's true. When we've been running these beliefs for, most of us decades, and you think thousands and thousands and thousands of times a day, we've been reinforcing them. So every time we see something and we go, oh, that's not good, then we're saying that that's not good about us. And so every time we reinforce it, and the way I kind of visualize it, it's like a car being stuck in the mud. And by keep going back and forth on the same track over and over and over again, it takes a lot to get out of that. And so we do need to repeat our affirmations lots, and we do need to do the work around it. And we do need to, every time it comes up, we need to go, okay, there's that belief. Is that true? Am I being a bad mom? Am I this? Am I that? And just making it more conscious so that every time we do that, every time the belief comes up, or every time it, tells us what we're doing wrong, or our self-talk is, it's kind of moving the car a little bit out of that big dark ditch. But I know, especially if if I'm tired, oh my gosh, my old beliefs, tired or hungry. So if I'm not in a good physical state, then they just come flushing back in, because they are such a strong part of us. And especially when they're culturally reinforced, which a lot of our beliefs are. So we're watching something on TV and we're like, we get triggered by it. And it's like, oh, there's that belief. And it takes a lot of work and a lot of courage, I'd say, too, especially with some really strong cultural beliefs, to go, nope, that's not my truth. That's not true for me. And so I don't know if I answered your question, because I kind of went on a ramble there.
No, I think you did. And I think that it's really good to think about it that way. And, if we do it really well, all that we have shared so far goes such a long way in releasing these limiting beliefs and self-doubts. And yet the hardest part is the action. And, we can sit here all day and talk about it and journal all year about it and see exactly what's holding us back with our own two eyes. And we can even rewrite those scripts for ourselves. But if we don't go out on the stage of life and start taking action, we are going to keep living as if we didn't do all the hard work of becoming self-aware. And obviously everybody's heard of fake it till you make it. And, that's not entirely true, but you can go one step further and not just fake it till you make it, but live as if. Believe that you believe this, even if you don't. You know what I mean? I like to say, face it till you feel it.
Yeah. I
think that's the scary part.
It absolutely is, because our beliefs are like our foundation. Again, our comfort, not necessarily healthy and isn't good for us, but it's what we know. And moving out of that can feel incredibly uncomfortable. And I know I've done some belief work. Lots of times I feel, I guess the word is like shaky. Like I feel like my foundations are kind of being rocked, because it's like my unconscious is going, I don't know what's happening here. Like this isn't, I feel like it's a computer going abort, 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 because it's just so not what we're used to. And so it does feel awkward. It does feel uncomfortable at first. It does take a lot of conscious effort to make those changes. And then once we've done it numerous times, it feels more and more comfortable. So I think, like you said, you just got to try it on. And it's not going to feel great at first. It's going to feel uncomfortable, because you're changing something that is your programming, really.
Yeah. Well, and I think it goes beyond uncomfortable. I think it's just downright scary. We have to actually start living our life as if we believe it when we don't yet, and act as if. And that 3-word saying that I just said was like such a cornerstone for me when I was rewriting my limiting beliefs. Act as if. I had to keep telling myself, it doesn't matter if I believe it yet. I have to act as if I do. And so you need to act as if your new beliefs are true. And in other words, if you really are the kind of woman that does what's best for herself, how are you going to handle the next toxic family event? If, you might need to set boundaries to improve your life. If you really are the kind of person who is healthy, what are you going to put in your grocery cart this week? If you really are strong and capable and have learned a ton from your unhealthy relationship, what steps are you going to take before you ever even think about dating to do dating differently than all the singles out there that are hating every minute of it?
Yeah.
It's like, this is where the rubber meets the road. If you don't take these steps as a result of formulating these new ways of trying to believe about yourself, you honestly, I kind of hate to say it so frankly, but you're just lying to yourself all over again in a new way. Mm-hmm. You have to take the action, take the next right step, even if it's a tiny step. Let it help you make your new truth believable to yourself, because you'll see little tiny progresses and victories, and you'll have these moments where it's like, oh, I can do this. I can think this way. You're getting this like positive feedback that lets you know that this is true. And so, what are your thoughts on taking action? How important it is, just anything?
I think it's hugely important. What I've noticed in my journey is that I almost started making new beliefs that were limiting in other ways. So like, I just thought of like with your healthy cart, putting healthy food in your cart. I found that I was like, okay, that's it. I'm going to be healthy. So then I'd make all these new rules about that, beliefs about it. Like, okay, I have to eat this many vegetables and stuff like that. And for me, it was, I need to do what's right for me in this very moment. And I'm making healthy choices for me, would be my affirmation. And that's what I'd want to. But I also had to be careful about not judging myself. If I want chocolate cake, then I'm going to have chocolate cake today. And I don't want to feel guilty about that.
Yeah.
And things like that. So I think it's a very dynamic process, and it's a very day by day, minute by minute process. Mm-hmm. And I think honestly, it's kind of this weird thing where when you start uncovering your beliefs, then you can start seeing how much of a great person you actually truly are. So you start loving yourself more. Mm-hmm. But you kind of have to have a little bit of that love to want to change those beliefs. So it's kind of like, I don't know if that makes sense, but
no, it does.
And the more you kind of let go of that old programming, the more you realize that you are this great person that, like you said, is perfectly imperfect, and that's great. The more you can kind of start shedding those more programming, and so it just gets easier and easier, almost like a teeter-totter, I would say. But yeah, you definitely need to. And I always like the energy. I always tell my clients the energy of curiosity. So when something comes up, get curious about it. Even with that taking action, I'm curious about what it would be like if I set a boundary. Mm-hmm. And so rather than having that, I need to set boundaries, I need to care about myself, I need to change this belief, because that's from a very harsh, judgmental attitude as well, or energy. If you're like, I wonder what it would be like if I did this. I wonder what it would be like if I ate healthy, that kind of thing. It's a little bit gentler and a little bit more self-love. And it can kind of help with that, like you said, taking that action and making that step.
Yeah, it's really all about opening your mind and your heart to living differently. And that can be scary because you're opening yourself up to whatever happens, right? But, it's really the only way to make this transition from, limiting yourself by having these old beliefs and choosing to see life differently. And with the goal of living in alignment with who is your best self, who you're meant to be, what your purpose is in this world. And you're never going to get there with limiting beliefs if you're clinging to those and you're keeping your mind and your heart closed to the potential and the possibilities. Can you think of any tips, like just things that somebody really needs to think about, what to avoid, I guess, even as they think about putting these things into action?
I think with the avoid thing, I think that is definitely I need to fix myself. Definitely, we all want to be a better version of ourselves. And so a great way to start every day is, I want to love myself more today. I want to get curious. I want to get to know myself more today, and come at again from that non-judgmental place.
Well, I just want to kind of think about just closing out this conversation by really reassuring everyone that their first steps are not going to be pretty. or perfect.
Yeah.
It's a kind of a messy process, and you really just have to head in the right direction and take the steps, and, not forget to take note of and make note of every forward motion you take. Celebrate every little progress, every new awareness and new awakening that you have. You're walking out of old beliefs that have limited you maybe for your whole life. It's not going to be easy or quick or painless. Mm-hmm. What other thoughts do you have, Tara, in closing?
I think it is, like you said, it's a simple process, but not easy. It is work. It does take consciousness. It does take effort on your part. And it does get easier the more you kind of go along. But like you said, to live in alignment with who you truly are, judgment-free and completely from a place of worthiness and self-love and knowing that you are enough, is so worth every single struggle that I've ever had along my path. Because there is such freedom in that. And I know lots of people who are starting out, I remember where I was when I started out, it was like, oh, well, that's just me. That's just like, I'm always going to feel that way, or I'm always going to think that. Now I just go, no, I don't have to. And so for anybody who's kind of starting out, I would say, question everything, I know it sounds tedious, but question every thought. Like, is that the truth? Is that really the truth? Because the more you can do that, the more you can get to that place where who you are at your core, which is perfect and wonderful and worthy, just as you are in every moment. And anything that tells you differently is programming.
Yeah, programming or trauma even. And, if you really just cannot even get to the place where you can think about rewriting these kinds of scripts, it's probably because you need some time in therapy to process trauma, because trauma gets stuck in our brains, and really we can't move forward until we heal that. And some of that healing work is the rewriting and the action steps that we've talked about today. But for that person who's trying all of these things and just not making progress or feeling really stuck, it may be worth, check in with a therapist to see what kind of treatments are available for trauma recovery. But really, I just am so glad that you joined me here today to explore this very important topic. And I love just sitting down with two life coaches talking about what matters to women facing divorce. Ladies, if you want to find out more about Tara, you can check out her website at TSW, that as in Tara Stricker Woodhouse, lifecoaching.com. And listeners, I hope this has been helpful for you. I really hope that this conversation has given you wings and you are ready to fly and do these things that we have talked about here today. If you didn't take good notes, just hit replay and be sure to jot down all the important steps that we've talked about in releasing limiting beliefs. And if this conversation has instead made you realize you need this, but you have no idea where to begin, I would love to talk with you more about that. You can email me at Annie@startingoverstronger.com or go to the website, startingoverstronger.com, and book a discovery call there. And we will be able to talk about how coaching can help you with releasing your limiting beliefs. And we can also, if need be, explore how you can get all your needs met during, before, and after your divorce. Life coaching, I think, sometimes seems like a luxury, and I assure you it's not. You cannot put a price on your emotional well-being. It affects every other part of your life. And if your emotions are in the driver's seat of your divorce, you're definitely going to save money with a divorce coach. If you can afford your attorney, you can afford me. And in fact, I will most likely reduce your attorney's fees along with helping you to create a more positive and productive relationship with your attorney and maybe your therapist too, by allowing them to do their jobs well, because you're getting your emotional and organizational divorce and recovery needs met and having that thinking partner as you go. So don't just go through your divorce, grow through your divorce, release and rewrite those limiting beliefs that have led you toward your divorce, and create the life you love after it. And until we meet again, remember, there is help as you divorce and hope as you are starting over stronger.